Hello, Scorpio. I'm Poetic Heretic, and this is your March 2020 tarot forecast. I will be giving a tarot reading for all Scorpio individuals, sun, rising, and moon, for the month of March 2020 to see what insight, advice, and other information we can gain for the month. All right, so without further ado, let us begin. So, we would like a Celtic cross reading for all Scorpio people, sun, rising, and moon, for the month of March 2020. Let us see what we get. Cards are just moving right along for you guys. There we go. For your current outside influences, you got the Seven of Cups reversed. For the challenge, you got the Emperor. For the underlying energy, the Five of Wands reversed. For the past, the Ace of Pentacles reversed. For what you hope to achieve, the Seven of Swords reversed. For the near future, the Four of Swords reversed. For your attitude or position on the situation, the Eight of Cups reversed. For the outside force coming in, the Two of Swords reversed. For your hopes or fears, the Eight of Wands reversed. And for the final outcome card, the King of Swords reversed. Okay, so let's dive into this reading here. So for your current outside influences, everything representing what is happening with you right around the beginning of the month, you got the Seven of Cups reversed. The end of illusion, regaining one's clarity, coming to one's senses, things becoming clear and no longer being sort of lost in confusion and the fantasy realms. So that's what we see with this very commonly. There's also an energy with the Seven of Cups reversed of not overindulging in pleasure, like having the right balance when it comes to indulgence in pleasure versus other areas of your life. And so that is a positive thing that we see. But let me just see a couple little things here real quick. Let's see, Seven of Cups reversed. All this other stuff. Okay, I think what this card is going to manifest as for the majority of you, though, in this context, is a sort of coming back to reality, especially if you haven't been fully in reality for a bit, or if there's been maybe some part of you that hasn't been quite attuned to reality. I think you're going to feel like much more clear, especially around the beginning of the month of this month. And that might, of course, be connected with Mercury retrograding back into Aquarius out of the sort of illusory sea of mystery that is Pisces and back into intellectual, detached, focused, objective Aquarius, where there's definitely a lot more clarity. But then halfway through this month, I believe it is on the 16th, Mercury, having gone direct, does go back into Pisces. And not just for you, Scorpio, but for all of us, things get a bit less clear, or maybe a lot less clear. And then we have to be more intuitive and stuff like that. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, speaking of sort of coming to one's senses and gaining greater clarity and that sort of thing, for your challenge card this month, crossing over that, you have the Emperor, the authority figure, the recognition and or approval from authority. And so I think what a number of Scorpio people may be experiencing this month with this crossing over that Seven of Cups reversed is a sort of, how to say this, a realization of limitations, recognizing authority, becoming aware of the reality of authority and limitation and working with that, or at least the need to work with that, perhaps. Again, this is showing up as the challenge card, as if to say that your challenge this month is very much connected to sort of meeting the requirements of an authority figure. Now, sometimes this can manifest in just very simple things, like maybe you need to renew your driver's license, or maybe you're, well, I guess this would be a pretty big deal. You need to get a degree in order to do a certain kind of job that you're wanting to do, these sorts of things. And this saying, again, with that Seven of Cups reversed, that there's like a recognition of the reality of that and sort of coming to terms with the reality of authority and working with authority. So that is what we have there. There's also the possibility, I should mention briefly, with the Emperor card, of the challenge for you this month being to sort of channel and focus your willpower. It, like your sign of Scorpio, is ruled by Mars, aggressive, willful, assertive Mars. And so there might be a need for you to sort of exercise some of that energy and like the energy of discipline as well, I would say. So you have that. All right. So for the underlying energy, everything forming a foundation for your situation this month, you got the Five of Wands reversed. So if there has been conflict in your life, expect a softening of that this month. Expect people to get along more, or even the conflict might not even be with other people. It might be within yourself. If you have been experiencing an internal conflict, expect a softening of that conflict this month, greater harmony, all the different parts working together more rather than working separately. When the Five of Wands is upright, I tend to think of it as like five different people or a number of different people like with their being all caught in their ego and that ego or those egos conflicting with one another rather than sort of being on their true path. Well, when we have the reversal, we get like a much greater reconciliation amongst the conflict, amongst whether it's people or whether it's like parts of yourself that feel like they're in conflict. And so, with it falling in the underlying energy, this is like saying that, um, how do I put this? That greater harmony that you feel within this month, that sort of reconciliation of those parts that were in conflict, is something that is like a foundation for you this month that you can rely upon, that is supporting you this month. That greater harmony adds this supportive energy for you throughout the month of March. So that's very good indeed. All right. So for the past and issues you've had to deal with that then lead into the present, you got the Ace of Pentacles reversed. So this card can deal with the dark sides of wealth, things like shady dealings. Maybe there have been people around you that you're aware have been engaged in some not so moral or ethical or even legal uses of money. And you've been aware of that, or maybe even you yourself, some Scorpio people out there may have been engaged in such activities. And that, in the recent past, and that's affecting things in the present, which I would not advise engaging in any illegal activities. Certainly not. Just saying that that falls in the category of what we see with this card reversed. Now, it might also manifest as like something, again, this is like, especially looking at the reversal, something that was new and exciting, some kind of new beginning in your life, especially involving like work and or money, that did not quite go so well, that suffered some problems, and thus we have the reversal. And then we see that quite possibly continuing into this month and affecting things, maybe part of what that could be for a number of you as we look at that Seven of Cups reversed and then the Emperor crossing over that as the challenge card, is again this idea of like the recognition of authority figures, of like, and limitation of like, you have to work with authority and you have to work with the existing structure, you have to work with reality in order to have success. You can't just pretend you have all the money you want and then it magically manifests, as so many of these new age types will tell you, and I would say, to your and their peril. For what you hope to achieve, you got the Seven of Swords reversed. So this is like your highest hope, your highest goal this month, what you're reaching for, what you're focused upon, what is on your mind. This is like the best you can hope for. Well, Seven of Swords reversed. We have a couple of different things here. First of all, when I get this card, it is so often indicative of like almost similar to the Five of Wands reversed in some ways, but some key differences. But like greater harmony, like there's less conflict, there's more of things getting back to normal. There's not as much like standoffishness between one person and another person, or perhaps multiple people. So it's like saying that this month you're reaching for greater peace and harmony, especially in the area of like relationships. So it doesn't have to be relationships. Um, but let's see. Let me think. Was there anything else I wanted to say along with that? Seven of Swords reversed. There could be, perhaps for some of you, a desire to get away with something. And whether you do or not, well, it doesn't look all that probable that you're going to get away with something this month, but there is perhaps that possibility. Um, with it being another seven, we had the Seven of Cups earlier, and this is the Seven of Swords. That's activating your seventh house of relationships, partnership, and also in some cases, open enemies. All of your like major one on one relationships, whether it's like a romantic relationship or a business partnership or whatever, that area of your life is being activated in a very significant way this month, more so than usual. And I think that contributes to this idea that many of you are wanting greater harmony in relationships this month, or specifically that major relationship in your life. So that is what we have there. For the near future, you got the Four of Swords reversed. So this represents about the first week or two of the month. So, very interesting card in this position. So, even though Mercury is back in detached intellectual Aquarius for that the first 2 weeks of this month of March, many of you Scorpios out there are not feeling quite so clear still. Oh, I'm sure there's added clarity compared to back when Mercury was in Pisces. You know, ever since Mercury retrograded back into Aquarius, right around the beginning of the month of March. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but about that amount of time. We've all been feeling more clear, and well, that did show up for you in other ways with the Seven of Cups reversed. But there's still this sort of blocked Four of Swords clarity, though, in the first week or two. There's still this stagnation. There's still, well, now we're kind of getting into other things, but the Four of Swords so often is being exhausted, being overworked, not getting to rest enough, not getting a break and needing a break. Um, I would say, I would say on that note, if you're able to take some extra breaks, especially early on this month, take care of yourself as needed. But yeah, this is so often a card of saying that you're feeling like overextended, you're feeling exhausted. You need some rest, you need some time out from things. Perhaps you need to get away from things for a bit. Sometimes also this can be like a sort of inner stagnation, a sort of mental blockage, a difficulty in moving forward intellectually, which would make sense with Mercury's activity right now. Hell, even once it goes direct, it's still in its shadow. And so it's still like, all of us are struggling to move forward mentally in that period of time. But anyway, I would say consider those things. I would your home, your living situation, that sort of thing. All right. So for your attitude or position on the situation about halfway through the month, you got the Eight of Cups reversed. Very interesting, especially considering this other stuff that we have here. Like kind of starting off with that Seven of Cups, and then the Emperor card and all that, talking about the recognition of reality and authority, because this is like saying how you're feeling is you are willing to walk away from a difficult or painful situation, no matter what it takes, or just in a more generalized sense, you're willing to do what needs to be done, even though it may be painful. Like you see the difficult reality for what it is, and you are willing to do the right thing, nevertheless, which I would say is indeed what you should be doing. You never want to give in to weakness. You never want to take the easy way out or that sort of thing. Now, in some cases, this card's reversal could indicate wanting to do just that, wanting to sort of imagine that it's all much better than it is, and sort of give into that, or expect that things are going to go well when there's really no reason to expect that. There's a difference between positive thinking and being downright delusional. And as Scorpio, I know that you guys typically cannot stand being delusional, and you're all about looking at the reality. And so I think the vast majority of you indeed are going to take that route this month and be like, yeah, I know what needs to be done. I'm going to make sure that it happens. In another sense, this could be indicating Eight of Cups reversed, like this is kind of a more uplifting thing, I suppose, is like feeling like you're able to get a bit more pleasure in your life, a bit more enjoyment of the pleasures of life, um, and sort of improving how much you're uh, enjoying yourself on a day-to-day basis, especially emotionally, because of that and or through that. So that is what we have there. For the outside force coming in, you got the Two of Swords reversed. So this is someone or something coming at you. So Two of Swords reversed. We could be looking at a bit of a breakthrough here, like the ending of a stalemate. Things that were paused or not moving forward are now moving forward. And that, of course, does represent or reflect the Mercury retrograde energy no longer being retrograde later in the month. But again, this is something or someone coming at you. And so it's someone or something else moving forward, but its energy is affecting you. Like you're sort of being imbued with it. I mean, in a larger sense, we all are, again, with the Mercury retrograde no longer being retrograde, with it going direct. But yeah, there's some kind of breakthrough here coming, or some kind of like something that was not moving forward now is moving forward. It's breaking loose. As for how it all turns out, it may not be stable right away with some of the other, cards that we have here, but at the very least, there's movement, there's motion, there's no longer things being totally stagnant. So there is that to look forward to. For your hopes or fears, you got the Eight of Wands reversed. So you are concerned this month about the delays, about things taking too long, about things not moving forward enough. And that, of course, fits in very well with what we were just looking at and going over. Things just not moving quickly the way that you want them to, and the way that this card talks about when upright. And maybe the frustration involved with that. Now, let us also point out that this is a second eight. Well, Scorpio has multiple houses powerfully activated this month. The eighth house is the house of death and taxes. But before you panic, usually not literal death, but it may be literal taxes. Issues surrounding mortality, shared resources, inheritance, deep, dark psychological issues. So any one or multiple or all of these areas potentially can be activated for you in a very powerful way this month, and is sort of the background of the energy that we see here in the rest of the reading. So it's like when I see eighth house activity, I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're really getting into some very dark but very real territory in whatever the reading or situation in question is. All right, so for the final outcome card, how you are concluding the month of March 2020, you got the King of Swords reversed. Now, this does often indicate a lack of clarity. Mercury's back in Pisces, and we're just not thinking as clearly as we would like to. And this could also indicate the need for some logical thinking and that sort of thing. However, I'm going to draw an 11th card because I feel like this could go a number of different ways, and I want more information on how it is likely to go for you. We got the Queen of Wands. Very interesting. So from air of air reversed to water of fire reversed. So that tells me that this particular King of Swords reversed energy is likely to manifest for you as not a reduction in your, how do I put this, in your passion per se, or in your sort of active energy per se, but instead that passion or active energy is going to be far more emotional, far more of the water element than it is going to be intellectual or mental or logical, the air element. We're going to see, or you're going to see on to a significant extent or on some level, the passion and resolution and courage of the Queen of Wands here, this Queen of Wands energy. So that's not too bad. It's like, yet again, not to sound like a broken record here, but with Mercury returning to Pisces, like we all have to contend with this rather nebulous, somewhat confusing energy. We all have to think more with our emotions than with our minds once we get to the second half of March onward, March 16th onward, because Mercury in Pisces can't rely on logic alone. That's just not the energy or the landscape of the sign of Pisces. Instead, we have to think in Piscean ways, which is all about being like emotional and intuitive and sensitive. There's a certain psychic sensitivity that we must allow our minds to be imbued with if we want to gain any kind of clarity whatsoever. So, in a larger sense here, the message for you this month might even be, especially like towards the end of the month, second half of the month, might even be don't try to think logically, but instead try to think with the logic of intuition, if you will, the logic of emotion, the logic of feeling your way through things, because that's literally what the astrology is right now. And you're not going to be able to um, defy that. Basically, I don't know how else to put it. The current astrological conditions are always a reflection of our inner psychological state. And it's not just psychological, but that is one thing that it is that we can't ever get away from. And so I want to mention, though, on that note, that again, there is that significant shift later in the month as Saturn moves into Aquarius, from Capricorn to Aquarius after about 2.5 years in Capricorn. There is going to be a significant shift in that area of your life. And so let us see here. That means Saturn is moving from your third house to your fourth house because you are Scorpio. So I would say consider in your life, I'm giving you guys a bit of an extended reading here because why not? It seems especially appropriate for the tarot reading that we just did. I would say consider how your third house of communication and mental activity and short distance travel has been affected by Saturn, which tends to limit things, but also tends to give structure to things since December of 2017, because that's when it moved into Capricorn. And know that once we get to about March 22nd, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but about March 22nd and onward this month, up until the very end of June of this year, that's going to shift. No more is Saturn going to be in your third house. Instead, it's going to move into your fourth house of your home, your family, your living situation, your roots, your land, all that kind of stuff. And will affect that for better or for worse. All right, so that's about it, Scorpio. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a great month of March indeed. If you did enjoy this, feel free to subscribe if you're not already, as I am always streaming more astrology and tarot related content to this channel. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Again, have a great month, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.